This episode is brought to you by Resy and American Express. Resy is a digital platform that connects restaurants to restaurant lovers by elevating dining experiences, providing original industry content, and helping to fill some of the country's most exciting dining rooms. Because restaurants have always been more than just places to eat. The amazing world of restaurants is just a few taps away in the Resy app and at resy.com.
Finished training for the day? Time to fight post-workout fatigue with Core Power Protein Shakes. They're packed with 26 grams of high-quality protein to build muscle and electrolytes to help hydrate. The nutrition you need to help your body replenish, rebuild, and repair post-workout so you can power on to the next one. Champion your recovery with Core Power. Visit corepower.com to learn more.
If you do something that you're passionate about, that you love, that you have like reason for doing, then people will be attracted to that. We're just asking people to trust us. It's like, we're not going to feed you something disgusting. Like, that's insane.
This is Taste. I'm your host, Eliza Barbanel. Nick Tamburo and Nikita Malhotra are the chef and wine director of Smithereens, a New England-style seafood restaurant in the East Village. Their thoughtful, imaginative takes on regional culinary traditions and their own cravings result in a totally singular restaurant. And today on the show, we're unpacking how food and drinks combine at Smithereens.
And at the top of the show, we have a great conversation with Will Thompson. He's co-owner of the modern steakhouse Sonny's in Miami. He gives us his top 5 meals that have inspired his long career working in bars and restaurants. This is part of a new reoccurring segment with Resy, where Resy editors, writers, and partner chefs discuss compelling stories and discuss the latest in food and dining culture. I hope you enjoy the episode. Will Thompson, welcome to This Is Taste. How are you?
I am so well. How are you?
I'm really great. It's so nice to connect with you. We're going to hear about Sonny's in Miami. You're going to take the Resy top 5. You're going to tell us all about the 5 restaurant meals or experiences that had shaped your career in bars and restaurants. How do you feel about that?
I love it. I mean, I know about exactly one thing. So any opportunity I have to talk about that one thing is an exciting one.
Well, first, Will, tell us a little bit about Sonny's in Miami.
Sure. Yeah, Sonny's was born as a real response to the pandemic. The chef and I had opened a small bar and restaurant inside of a very weird lobby space in downtown Miami about 8 years ago now. We had been running that for, 14 months or so in the littlest, tucked-iniest, most indoor, corner of that space that you could ever imagine. So we had just barely started to hit our stride as kind of new Miami transplants, started with no team, doing the whole thing kind of from scratch. We'd started to kind of hit our stride, and all of a sudden it became very clear that we could not be operating a inside restaurant. So we kind of went through all the same pivots that everybody else tried, delivery and takeout. We're doing meals for first responders, just anything we could think of. And it was as, days became weeks and weeks became a couple of months, it was increasingly clear that none of that was going to keep the lights on. I think that being coupled with being in Florida, where the sort of protections that our staff had, whether that be unemployment insurance or any other kind of benefits that would have kept them secure, were pretty close to nil. It was suddenly very evident that we had to find out a way to kind of keep going as a restaurant. That, nobody was going to be getting in line for our sourdough bread, no matter how good it was. Nobody was interested in delivery shucked oysters or, batched cocktails. And we had to find a way to do something that was kind of experience equivalent. And that's when we kind of came upon this spot we had seen up in Little River, which was an abandoned roofing tile warehouse centered around this massive banyan tree. And we thought, well, there might not be any infrastructure up here. There's a hand sink and a couple of what we could generously call bathrooms, and that was about it. Between the kind of Miami natural skyline, this big tree, the bricks, some fairy lights, we thought we could make something that could at least feel like a restaurant, even if it couldn't really be one. And so we started doing a pop-up. We did it as tacos for a couple of weeks. because we were broke and we figured everybody else would be broke too. And then, you know, sort of showing our naivete about Miami, nobody here has a job. So nobody down here was broke. So I'm on the floor constantly talking to people, and it felt very clear to me that we were really onto something with people wanting to be out, of course, right? They'd been cooped up and we were completely outside. You know, we had whatever, maybe a grand total of 10 picnic tables that were all 1,000 feet away from each other. So it felt pretty safe. But that we'd missed the mark with tacos, and that they wanted something that was a little more celebratory, that was going to be a little bit more of a way to kind of really feel like you were out. And that's where this idea of the steakhouse came from. I thought, honestly, that this would be, 30, 60 days of steakhouse, and we'd have to pivot again just because it felt like people were responding to novelty more than anything else. But by, I don't know, day 10 or 12, it felt very, very clear that we were onto something that people were really excited about. So we ran the pop-up for a couple of years. By the time we were done, it was very clear that we needed to find a way to make it permanent. So I spent the next 2.5 years after that fundraising, designing, trying to get this thing built. And we were able to open almost exactly 11 months ago. Been going off as, this indoor, outdoor, steakhousey, pasta, raw bar, dinner party situation ever since.
I mean, those are like the food groups. Those are what you like. You just said like those are what
we
I
want to eat.
That's what I want to eat, especially when I'm in Miami, when I'm visiting, or if
I
like.
And I think around there's a whole conversation to be had about steakhouses, and I think they can feel like reenactment a lot of the time, right? Where you're kind of like Xeroxing this model that somebody came up with 150 years ago. And it was very important to us to not do that, to do something that felt like it spoke to really where we are and the ingredients we had and what kind of things we would want to eat and drink. And so while we are, I think by all accounts, a steakhouse, you come in, you get a Caesar salad and a hanger steak and béarnaise and French fries if you want. I think there's also other ways to interact with the restaurant that are a little bit more in line with, the fact that it's 92 degrees outside and the sun goes down at 8:45. Those very heavy components are delicious and absolutely have a time and a place, and we're excited to serve them. But we're also really excited to put together, what I think is a pretty beautiful raw bar and focus on just, things that are very cold, which is, fast become my favorite flavor.
And of course, the bar program. I mean, you come from a world of bars as well as restaurants, but you have a really sharp eye for trend in the beverage side of things. How did you think about the Sonny's beverage menu?
Yeah, I don't know that I have a sharp eye for trend. I think almost the opposite.
Okay,
I'm very kind of like dug in to the things that I think are of value, right? Like if you look at all these old timey, 19th century whatever cocktail books, which I did in my 20s because I'm a big dork. They're all kind of aligned with this like stiff drink for a fair price. And so I tend to be kind of like anti-novelty and really focus a lot more on like what makes you want to have a second of the same drink. What are the things that really hit? What are what's a fastball down the middle? And then how do you kind of apply on enough novelty to that to make it feel like guests are having something new? Like, what do I want to drink? I don't know, martinis and margaritas. Same thing as every other bartender I've ever spoken to, Can I get away with a menu full of just martinis and just margaritas? Probably not. So, I think you need to do enough to really give people something that feels new and exciting. But when we start getting into some of the stuff that looks to me like trend, I think that's when we kind of get lost in the sauce, right? Where you're like more focused on, whatever Tales in the Cocktail is sort of suggesting is cool right now, than you are in like what's going to make that guest come back. And in a smaller market, whether that be during a pandemic or not, I would argue Miami is at its heart a smaller market. You got to make sure people want to come back. And so I think that means really leaning into this stuff that's like tried and true, that's existed for 100, 150, 200 years, rather than, hey, every drink on our menu is milk punch and we look like a world's 50 best restaurant, but like people seem to really slow down halfway through that first cocktail.
So articulate. I love the course correction from the bad question that I asked. I think I was.
Yeah,
I
it
was
was a great question. I'm just fussy.
No. It was a question that used the word trend, and you were obviously allergic to it. And I really like.
Averse,
we're,
not allergic.
we're kindred spirits there, because I think like thinking about it's more about taste making than actual trend spotting and understanding what people want and actually having great taste and looking back in the old books.
You got to listen to your consumer, and that's where it becomes extremely important that we as restaurant workers work in restaurants. Very, very difficult to understand what your guests are telling you if, you're on the road 300 days out of the year and you've done 10 million pop-ups, but you don't know what that consumer who's in at 6 o'clock on a Tuesday is saying or doing.
This episode is brought to you by Our Place. Are you still using that set of pots and pans bought on sale at Bed Bath & Beyond during the first Obama administration? It might be time for an upgrade. I recently went on a search for the perfect saute pan and landed on the Our Place website. I liked how their cookware looked, minimal and functional, with a color palette that matched my own aesthetic. And I really liked that they make better kitchen products that are simply better for you. Our Place makes high-performance, toxin-free cookware. It's that simple. Their products are made without forever chemicals like PFAS and PTFEs. I had to Google that, and man, that stuff is nasty. So you can cook confidently without wondering what's in your pan. Stop cooking with toxic cookware and upgrade to Our Place today. Visit FromOurPlace.com/taste and use code TASTE for 10% off site-wide. With a 100-day risk-free trial, free shipping and returns, you can experience this game-changing cookware with zero risk. That's FromOurPlace.com/taste and use code TASTE for 10% off site-wide. This episode is brought to you by Tempo. Now, we are all really busy this time of year, and cooking sometimes is not an option, though we crave a healthy, creative, home-cooked meal that an Uber Eats delivery or slice of pizza isn't going to satisfy. Tempo is a smart solution. Creative and always interesting, arriving at your door, perfectly portioned for lunch and dinner, and ready to eat in 2 minutes. Now, I recently gave Tempo a try, and I was super impressed. It's great. The pork chop and green beans with roasted garlic potatoes was exactly what I wanted after a busy day. And the grilled chicken with apricot barbecue sauce, man, that sauce was tangy, and it gave me all the lean protein I was wanting after a crazy day of podcast recording. With 20 meals available for delivery each week, mealtime is never boring. And for those macro counters out there, Tempo is a smart option. For a limited time, Tempo is offering This Is Taste listeners something pretty amazing. 60% off your first box. That's 60%, which is pretty close to free. Visit tempocooking.com/taste for 60% off your first box. tempocooking.com/taste. Rules and restrictions may apply. We talk about health a lot on the show. Protein maxing is all the rage. We're on the NA beer train, of course. And probiotic sodas, some call those millennial Metamucil. But I want to talk about skin health for a second. Everybody should be thinking about skin health. It's important, and I look to OneSkin, the world's first skin longevity company, for a little help. Now, I've used OneSkin's OS1 hydrating sunscreen for walking around New York City in the blazing sun.
Producer Clayton chiming in. Matt and I used OneSkin during the recent bakery half marathon we participated in. It was a lot of running, a lot of pastries, and a whole lot of sun. Our stomachs might have taken a hit, but our skin was protected with OneSkin.
By focusing on the cellular aspects of aging, OneSkin keeps your skin looking and acting younger for longer. For a limited time, you can try OneSkin with 15% off using promo code TASTEPOD at oneskin.co. That's 15% off using code TASTEPOD. Well, Will, are you ready to give your top 5? I think you're really up for this one. You're so well-traveled and really have a lot of point of view when it comes to restaurants. Let's start with your first restaurant. These are the restaurants that have shaped your career. What is the first one?
The first one's probably the easiest, and it was that kind of like light bulb moment of like, I don't know what's going on here, but something is different than what I've seen before, and I really want to be a part of it. So I'm originally from Boston, and there was a restaurant that's unfortunately since closed called Rendezvous. It was right in Central Square in Cambridge. And it was very much in my mind, looking back, 1,000 years, that kind of idealized neighborhood restaurant. The bartender there was hugely knowledgeable, and this is well before, I think the sort of cocktail heyday. We are talking what, probably 17 years ago now. So at least in Boston, before the kind of cocktail heyday. And I remember going in, I was dating somebody who was a little bit older than me, and she had good enough taste to really like that place. I remember going in and just like watching the bartender work and being like, that's cool. I'm not used to seeing that when I go to whatever bars I went to when I was 21. And it was just like everything was delicious. Everything was really high value. And you're pouring Jura wines and I'm 21 and I don't know what that word is. And I don't know why I like this thing more than the other things I've had before, but I know that I really, really like it. And I know it's priced in such a way that, maybe I can't go there every day, but I could go there a couple of times a month and I could keep coming back. And I think that combination of like value, knowledge, service, it really informs kind of how I think about what's important now, because I know it's what got me excited about this industry as like a very young person.
Well, let's move on to the second restaurant, Will.
Yeah, so I would really annoy that bartender there like a lot. And, I knew I was interested, and I asked him about a cocktail book, and he told me to get what I thought was called the Savory cocktail book that turned out to be called the Savoy cocktail book.
Yes.
That took me a few months to figure out. But once I got that book in my hands, I would, I was all excited about that. I'd go to other bars that were doing cocktail stuff, and I'd annoy the shit out of those bartenders. And eventually they were all like, you got to leave us alone. There's a bar that's opened that really is doing the kinds of things that you're asking for. Like, please stop bothering us and go there. And so I did. I went to a cocktail bar called Drink that's unfortunately also since closed. And I remember pretty specifically what I ordered, because it's like the douchiest cocktail I could ever imagine anybody asking for. It's a good drink. It's not the drink's fault. Certainly not the creator of the drink's fault. It's a drink called a Rubicon that I'd found in some other cocktail book. I'd bought like a store down the bottom of the hill I was living at. And it's an aviation with a little chartreuse, and the chartreuse is lit on fire with some rosemary. Like, this is not a drink that anybody should be able to make in their right mind. It's certainly not a drink that anybody ever would have heard of. But the bartenders there were amazing and figured it out, looked it up, whatever, texted somebody. It might have been before it was easy to look up cocktails. And like produced it for me. And that was the moment where I went from like, hey, I love going to Rendezvous, I'm really interested in what's going on there, to holy shit, I think I probably need to find a way to like be a part of this.
Work
this
in
is,
the industry.
I don't know what exactly. Yeah, like I don't know what about this is really striking a nerve, but something is, and like I am going to figure out how to be a part of it. So it was just kind of the way in which I got bartended there. Just how much expertise there was, how much grace they handled my very, very annoying drink order with. The whole show and the way in which that show was very, very like kind of understated. It did never feel like those bartenders were shoving their knowledge in your face. It felt like it was available if you wanted it. And if you were just there to have drinks and shoot the shit and play some dice, it was a bar for that as well. So for me as a, 21, 22-year-old at that point, that one moment was like, oh, wow, this isn't just interesting. This is something that I should maybe think about trying to, make my career. And I think I was annoying enough that they made me apply like 3 times before I could even get hired as a bar back there, which was probably for the best.
You started as a bar back. I love that. I mean,
for sure. Yeah, it's a trade. Like I don't know that there's another way to start. But yeah, I stayed there for about 4 years. Thought I was going to be there for like 6 months and figure it all out. I am not good at estimating time or my capacity for figuring things out. But yeah, stayed there for about 4 years.
What a legendary place. I think I wrote about cocktails in like the mid 2000s and like onward, and Drink in Boston was always the place you went in Boston for cocktails, and really thinking about that cocktail renaissance moment. And the fact that you were there at such a young age and learning from that team is incredible.
Yeah, I do feel like that's something that's gotten, it's not a part of the cycle that we're in right now, where that age gap between the people that were teaching and the people that were there to kind of like work and learn was clear enough that the sort of communication of information felt very natural, right? It's a lot easier to listen to somebody who's 15 or 20 years older than you than it is somebody who might be closer to your age. And I think that's where some of the muddling of like what's happened in cocktails kind of came through in the last 5 years, where all of a sudden everybody was the bar manager and nobody was quite right. So I feel very, very lucky to have been able to work for so many incredibly talented bartenders that were able to teach me a lot, not just about, recipes and bartending, but also really how to work. And certainly what real hospitality means and feels like.
All right, let's move on to your third restaurant or bar.
Yeah, actually, I want to leave this one unnamed because this is
Okay.
this is a opposite experience to those first two that I outlined, and it was kind of when I figured out I really really disliked a lot of what makes up fine dining. My friends who are all bar managers at respective places at this point, and I kind of piled in a car and shot down to New York to go eat some food and drink some drinks and see what was happening in the at least the center of the world for America for food and beverage. And we went to a very well established restaurant and had what we thought was going to be a great lunch, and it was just the worst. Like the food was sort of fine, but like it was everything was very theatrical, right? Nothing was like, hey, you're four people sitting at the bar and we're two people behind the bar and we're just going to figure out a way to have a good time together with some really special food and some cool wines, cool cocktails. It was this like, if the feeling of having bought a ticket to a show rather than being like a participant. And it's hard to go into too many details about exactly what that means, but I think I see it, more in fine dining and more occasionally in cocktail bars that are very, very, very themed, where it's like none of the stuff that makes going to a restaurant fun has happened. And there was a point at which that I felt like it really kind of summed that up, where we had gotten this might kind of give it away to some more astute listeners, or at least dorkier listeners. I don't know. But we at the very end, right? They'd done nothing at all to acknowledge that we were like also restaurant workers, despite the restaurant being completely empty. Had kind of maybe not been super accurate about a handful of descriptions I didn't catch. My friends did. It was just like, what's going on here, guys? And at the end, they're like, hey, do you want to come see the kitchen? And I was like, oh my God, awesome. What a cool thing to be invited to do. And we got back there and there's a notch cut into the wall in the kitchen and a little table that was like very mounted to the ground. And they had a stand inside the little notch, and somebody came out and made a molecular Jack Rose or whatever and explained to us what grenadine was, despite us at that point having all been very clearly established as like, bartenders, industry folks. Like we know it's pomegranate. We got it, guys. This was meant to be an act of hospitality, right? Like you've done something that's supposed to be really cool and special, but because it's such a reenactment or whatever, like this actually feels kind of like shit. Like this is something you do for everybody. You've the physical infrastructure and the space to do this every time. So that's not special. No rules are getting broken for us. And you've completely failed to acknowledge all the information you had going into that interaction, which is that we're also restaurant workers and at least know what some of this really simple stuff is. And so that was kind of a lesson, not in like what's great, but very much this moment of like, oh, wow, this is inorganic. This doesn't feel good. This isn't the kind of side of this industry that I want to chase down.
I mean, it was almost like you were putting a token into a machine.
Totally.
Like a video
That's a
game.
great way to phrase it. Yep.
And you're going through the turnstile. And I love first that you have taken this assignment seriously and restaurants don't always have to positively affect your career. That's so smart. And second, I wanted to ask you about spontaneity, because I think that you are hammering a great point that you want something to be fun and you want to feel spontaneous in a dining room. And when you're just doing the moves and it feels like a really well-worn track, that is joyless.
That's exactly the language I use to describe it. Yeah, it sucks. Like, we're all the heroes of our own story, right? And so it doesn't need to be, gestures don't need to be substantial. They don't need to be you don't need to game one gesture against another and figure out who can do the biggest, stupidest thing. But it's really just like, hey, there's a person in front of you, and if you don't treat them like a person, this probably isn't going to be very fun.
All right, give us your fourth restaurant or bar.
Yeah, this is a toss-up. Two, I think, pretty different. But you suggested that I'm well-traveled. I don't know that that's true, but I've definitely left the country a couple of times. And there were two moments that really stood out to me. One was the first time I went down to Oaxaca. It was someplace on the side of the road, and you could get the soup. So you could have one of three soups. You could have like a bass soup. You could have a shrimp soup, or you could have a soup with shrimp and bass in it. And it came out in this big jicara. And then they took a rock that had been sitting in the fire all day long and they dropped it into your soup, and that kind of flash boiled the whole thing. And I don't know that I've ever had anything that tasted better to me in my life than like being in that place at that time. And it's like very, very simple, like if there were 4 ingredients, I'd be shocked. This incredibly simple thing. And then the other was, I think one of the first brand trips I ever went on was to London to see a couple gin distilleries. And we were lucky enough to go to the bar at Duke's and get served, probably the drink with the fewest ingredients that could still be called a cocktail, which is the martini they make there, which is basically just frozen gin dropped into a glass with a tiny little bit of dry vermouth rinsed around the inside. And I think I got a little excited, and I probably had more than you're supposed to there. But I think both of those moments were like just like the best, right? Like that feels so good. But real reminders that it's the room, it's like the way you are made to feel far more than it is the contents of the thing you are being served. And I think that's a very important part of what's informed building this restaurant, which is, large and tried our best to make it pretty good looking, but really relies on what Miami does, I think, very well, which is create a lot of natural beauty to sort of set up the expectation of delicious and the expectation of a great time. Because I think that's an incredibly important part of what makes this stuff so fun and so great, right? Like, I think as especially as nerds about this kind of thing, it's very easy to fixate on what's being served. If you look at what, most food and beverage media is talking about, I think most of the time it's a cocktail or a plate of food. And that's such a miss, right? Like, yeah, whatever. Like, cool. Everybody has enough social media that if you really want to make something that's made somewhere else, you can probably figure it out. So it can't just be the thing that you're serving. And it's got to be the way in the world in which you're serving it.
Love these points. I think you're so smart about pointing out that a restaurant is connective tissue. It's not just the food on the plate. It is exactly what you say. It's like the room. It's the style of service. It's the way you're giving your check. This is important. And I think in the age of social media, it's challenging to parse that circle plate and, dish from the great dish, but also this room and this service and these wonderful people who are greeting you at the door. I mean, you're thinking about this deeply.
Well, my whole stupid life. Like, what else do I have to think about? Yeah, no, I agree. And I think that Miami is actually like a really interesting place to live because of that, because of what the city is. And I think what consumers have traditionally prioritized here is hugely experiential, right? Like, this is kind of the land of the clubstaurant, especially outside looking in. And that's a very experiential meal. And a big part of the experience has got to be the space.
All right. So we have the Oaxaca restaurant and Duke's. Is that your 4 and 5? Or are we doing a bonus?
I'm calling that 4. I think
okay.
it's one or the other,
all
right? Like, both are these very sort of experiential moments.
4A and 4B, we'll call 4A, 4B.
Yeah.
All right. Let's wrap it up with your last restaurant or bar that has inspired your career.
Yeah, and I think that was going to holiday lunches at Number 9 Park, which is a restaurant that I think has also closed in Boston. That's where I spent my 20s, so a lot of these sort of formative moments happened then. Number 9 Park, great, very expensive, but really lovely, mostly French restaurant right on, the Garden in Beacon Hill. In Boston, and they would do lunch just in December. And to work it, which I learned later on, was an absolute nightmare, just chaos, right? But to experience was the very, very best, because you're there, December in Boston, looking at the Common, and it's probably snowing a little bit, and you have champagne, and somebody makes you like a Tom and Jerry. And it was this very, felt like a real lesson in what restaurant hospitality can be, and the sort of that quality of the thing that you wanted always being in front of you just a moment before you could have thought to ask for it. And that feeling of, I was just going to go in for a quick 45 minutes and then you're there 7 hours later. And I think in some ways for, a higher end restaurant, that to me is still a real guidepost of what can hospitality feel like at its best when you pull out the stops, when, price really isn't a limit, which for most restaurants, not most, but for many restaurants at this point, it seems like regardless of experience, price is no longer, a part of the equation. What can that feel like at its very best? And it was just, from the guest side, felt like you were getting everything. Right. And I think that's something that, we can't necessarily afford to do over and over and over again. We can't splash, all 550 guests we're going to see with champagne every single night. They can't get, both courses that they were deciding between every single night. But I think it's really informed a lot of those, like, hey, what are those little moments and those little things that you can do for somebody that make them feel like they're acknowledged and seen?
Will Thompson, I cannot wait to visit you down in Miami at Sonny's. This has been such a fun conversation, hearing about your career. Thank you so much for joining This Is Taste.
Thanks so much for having me, and thanks for listening to me yammer on.
This episode is brought to you by Grow Therapy. Have you ever tried to Google therapist near me? Just the act of typing those words in a browser can be so stressful on its own. I once went on a hunt for a therapist and found myself with a dozen tabs open with LinkedIn profiles and Instagram accounts of people I just didn't want to know. Grow Therapy makes it way less overwhelming and way more affordable. Whether it's your first time in therapy or your 50th, Grow makes it easier to find a therapist who fits your needs. They connect you with thousands of independent, licensed therapists across the U.S., offering both virtual and in-person sessions, nights and weekends. It's that easy. And you can search by what matters, like insurance, specialty, or availability, and get started in as little as 2 days. And if something comes up, you can cancel up to 24 hours in advance at no cost. There are no subscriptions, no long-term commitments. You just pay per session. Grow helps you find therapy on your own time. Whatever challenges you're facing, Grow Therapy is here to help. Sessions average about $21 with insurance, and some pay as little as $0, depending on their plan. Visit growtherapy.com/taste today to get started. That's growtherapy.com/taste. Availability and coverage vary by state and insurance plan.
With new, gentler scented Clorox disinfecting wipes, clean finally smells as good as it feels. On everything from lamps to ceiling fans. Even on your kid's toy shark. Oh, ouch. Clorox disinfecting wipes. Now available in crisp lemon. Find it on Amazon. Clorox. Clean feels good.
This episode is brought to you by LifeLock. It's Cybersecurity Awareness Month, and LifeLock has tips to protect your identity. Use strong passwords, set up multi-factor authentication, report phishing, and update the software on your devices. And for comprehensive identity protection, let LifeLock alert you to suspicious uses of your personal information. LifeLock also fixes identity theft, guaranteed or your money back. Stay smart, safe, and protected with a 30-day free trial at LifeLock.com/podcast. Terms apply.
Nick Tamburo, Nikita Malhotra, This Is Taste. Thank you for coming on the podcast.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
You guys are really seriously sitting across from me in the studio right now, but I think it's going to be a really fun episode talking all about Smithereens. And before we get into the restaurant world of it all, I want to just give a little bit of insight into who you are. I'm wondering if you could each tell me an early food memory you have from growing up that you think somehow informs your point of view today. Maybe, Nick, you can start.
Yeah, sure. Well, I grew up in Massachusetts, south of Boston, but both my parents are from Maryland area, and when I was a kid, growing up, we would go down to visit my grandparents, aunts and uncles in Maryland, and for special occasions, we would always eat steamed blue crabs with Old Bay and stuff, where they just dump it on the table with brown paper, and you just kind of get really messy and pick all the meat and that kind of thing. And that was always my favorite meal when I was a kid.
It's the classic kind of New England experience, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of commonalities between New England cooking and that sort of mid-Atlantic region. I mean, realistically, it's not that far away. But
yeah, I'm sorry, I said New England and immediately you had to.
yeah, it's mid-Atlantic, Delmarva, Delaware, Maryland, Virginia. That's the
tri-state.
Yeah. And so that's where that's popular. But yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm from California, so to me, everything is the East Coast.
Right.
But I appreciate the correction because we're going to talk about a lot of regional seafood and cooking today.
Yeah, totally.
Nikita, do you have a memory to share?
Yeah, I grew up in the city in New York, and my earliest memories are my parents loved going out. We went out, twice a week, and it's not really a food memory, but more of like an ambiance thing. I would always fall asleep on the banquettes, and I just loved being in the restaurant and sneaking in some cherries behind the bar, and my dad picking me up off the banquette so that we could get in the cab back home.
I think about that all the time as an adult, the amount of times that I'm out somewhere and I'm like, I wish I could lie down here and have someone carry me home, but we can't do that anymore.
No, yeah, we could try, but...
Yeah, that's real hospitality. So I'm curious, how did you two meet and begin talking about Smithereens as a restaurant?
Well, we met, I guess, a long time before.
Yeah.
Yeah, we started talking about the restaurant when... Wait, was I still... I was working at Momofuku and you were also, different restaurants. So I was at Nishi and Nikita was opening YO. So yeah, we met. I remember hanging out at, what was the party that they had at Co? Was it like an anniversary party where they invited everybody?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I remember mostly hanging out with you that one night in San Francisco.
Yeah. We were both happened to be in SF at the same time and hung out. Yeah, and then just kind of we know all the same people from Momofuku world and restaurants and stuff, and so yeah, we never worked together at Co, but we both worked there at separate times. So, when I would go back to visit to, eat at the bar or something, Nikita was there, and, to get back to starting the restaurant, I guess, I was working at Claude and started formulating the idea for this project. And Nikita came in to eat dinner and was saying that she was going to be leaving Co shortly. So I was just kind of
yeah,
cool. I'm looking for someone to collaborate on this with. So
that's your side of things too.
No, I mean, I knew Nick had that purpose to open his own project. He was pretty transparent about it in most of your time at Claude, I feel like. Mm-hmm. And so I remember going to Claude that week and you were at the Pass, and I made sure to just check in with you, and then you came in to Co that week. And we talked for briefly in the main dining room. We were kind of going through... little did we know that Co was going to close not too soon after that, but we're kind of reminiscing about your experience at Co and what I was going to miss. And it was really nice kind of gateway into a conversation of well, what is it? What do we like out of restaurants? And if, coming on to this project that you've been thinking about a lot, what would we contribute together?
Yeah, I'm really interested in how you go from knowing somebody in a larger scene, a larger professional industry, and deciding that they're the right kind of partner to open a restaurant with and work on a project. How did you guys talk about what you wanted Smithereens to be and kind of vibe check that?
I think that for me, the shared language, even though we never worked together, we worked through systems that were similar because we worked at a restaurant at different times. And we talked a lot about restaurants we also love across the board, different countries, why we liked them. So it was it felt more organic in that way. And I really appreciated those check-ins we had. There were many that summer where we just would get coffee, and it wasn't even a business thing. It was just what do you like when you sit down and eat? What's, what are some things you're looking for? And kind of both of us were able in that way to get to a point of what Smithereens would look like.
Yeah, what were some of those reference points?
No, I think, I kind of that's a really good way to put it. I think even though we already knew each other, it was sort of a getting to know you, chats and stuff. Just, I mean, I think the great thing about working at Co was there is a really strong, was a really strong DNA to that restaurant. And Sean Gray and Sue Wong Ruiz were like staples of that restaurant for so long. So to have worked for that person is to sort of absorb some of that like mentality. And I mean, I don't know that you see enough of that anymore, but just sort of like a strive for excellence, but also like being self-critical, I feel like is like the number one takeaway from that, is to be able to like look at the thing that you're doing and being like, is this like the best that it can possibly be, or do we need to like take a step back and rework this? Because if it's not like, and I don't want to say perfect because perfect is like kind of lame, but like being true to who you are, I think is like the most important takeaway from that.
Yeah, I do feel like Smithereens as a restaurant, when I was dining there, it does have such a specific point of view and feeling. I think sometimes these days there are a lot of new restaurants that come out that they kind of look the same. They have kind of similar things on the menu, and certainly like that's not what's going on at your restaurant. Nick, I'm wondering if you could explain kind of the culinary tradition ethos of like South Shore Mass that you guys are doing at the restaurant. To like, how would you kind of describe that, or what it looks like in practice even?
It's definitely a jumping off point for the restaurant. I think like it informs, like some of the ingredients that we use, or like a lot of the like aesthetics of the restaurant. But it is like somewhat of a loose theme. I mean, we have these sort of like nods to like New England culinary tradition. Like since we've opened, we've made like a clam chowder and we've used it in like different applications. Or, we have the lobster roll.
Anadama bread.
Yeah, some look to history more than others. Some are more like current. I think the buckwheat pancake that we do with smoked bluefish is like a total like tribute to Neptune oyster in Boston. So yeah, we kind of have these like sort of like touchstones, I guess, on the menu, and then everything else is just sort of I don't know, can be related to that or can not at all, and that's fine too.
Yeah, I feel like the abalone shiitake mushroom skewer that I had at the restaurant, I've tried to enjoy abalone many times, and it's always been more of a challenging texture, certainly for me. And that skewer was such a light bulb moment because it was like the way it's prepared was so delicious, and I felt like I had achieved like getting to enjoy this like seafood item that I know is like so prized and beloved. So personally for me, that was very fulfilling.
Cool. Yeah, you're from the land of abalone, so.
Yeah, I've been to like an abalone farm before in California.
Oh, cool. The Monterey one.
Yeah, it's in like Santa Barbara area. They do purple sea urchin also, and they do these giant, they call them Balthazar abalone. They're like bigger than my fist, maybe two of them, and they sell them for like $200
I was
going
to say those must be insanely expensive.
They overnight them to Asia for like business meeting, like high value kind of things. So also like, the abalone that large, I think has a lot of chew going on with it. But
yeah, I'm curious, do you know how old those are? Like how long do they have to live to get that big?
They're definitely older. This was
a
couple years ago, so I don't remember exactly, but it's kind of something that they started doing because they saw this business interest in Asia to sell these like Balthazar abalone, which is such a good branding name.
Yeah,
also.
That's really cool.
Where are you guys getting the abalone from?
These are from Australia. I mean, abalone is a strange. It's not like you don't see it often, especially in like Western restaurants. At least on the East Coast, I think in California there are more people using it in the Bay Area and stuff like that, where it's from. But yeah, it's prevalent in Australia. And I mean, I think like a reason that we wanted to serve it is because it is uncommon, and like usually to have it at a restaurant, you're committing to like, a $300 omakase or like some kind of tasting menu. So to just be able to go and like order it is like kind of cool. I mean, it's not cheap, but it's more approachable. So it's like kind of a cool experience.
Yeah, it's crazy that it's coming from so far away. Is there also a focus of using more kind of local seafood on the menu?
Yeah, we definitely use a lot of stuff from the East Coast. I mean, the whiting we were talking about before this is super prevalent in like Montauk. That's why we started using it, because one of our fish purveyors was telling us that like the fishermen like want to move more whiting. There's just so much of it. And right now it's like halibut season on the East Coast. So that, tuna, we have great tuna here on the East Coast, Spanish mackerel, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, all kinds of good things.
Yeah.
Nikita, I'm curious how you began thinking about what the beverage program would look like and how it's kind of evolved since the restaurant has been opened.
Yeah, we were going through, I remember I was like, okay, what's on the menu with Nick? And because he had a residency at Fulgrance's, so there was like time to really think about that. And I just kept wanting to drink Riesling every time he mentioned something. And I was like, okay, what if I just did that? Like, is that crazy? But we talk about this a lot in terms of like one of the joys of owning something is that you can kind of just say, yeah, I'm going to just do that and let's see what happens. And you're not beholden to anyone. It's more frightening because you're beholden to yourself, right? But we opened with mainly German Riesling, white wine. The only red wine was by the glass. And I really enjoyed that. But I started kind of formulating that I could kind of create a program where as a group, as the restaurant, we could learn together and really dive into things together, all within the parameters of like, will it work well with the food? To me, as a beverage person, I think over the years in restaurants, I've learned that like my role in a restaurant is to support the food menu. And so that's been really fun to do. It's such a distinct perspective.
Yeah, when a new dish is put on the menu, do you think about like, this is my perfect pairing, or is it more of like, this is an overall group of beverages that I think generally go well with what's happening on the food side?
Yeah, I do think at both of those at the same time. And so sometimes during lineup, it'll be like we present a dish, we taste through it, and then we go around. I like to ask both back of house and front of house what they'd like to pair. And I think that that's also kind of shows that you can pair. Sometimes a Narragansett will do real wonders with something. I think I like to break apart that idea that traditional wine is the way to go. There's just such an amazing world of beverages out there.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, we're talking about wine mostly, but there's New England beer on the menu. You even have, like, Moxie soda, right?
Yeah.
What is Moxie soda to someone who's never had it?
Yeah, Moxie was, like, the criteria. It was before even Riesling. We were like, we got to have Moxie.
Yeah, it was like it was difficult to source. Yeah. There's one company that carries it that we can get it from. And sometimes they don't have it. It's chaos out there, the Moxie.
So it's like a cult South Shore Mass soda? Where is it being drank?
It's more, when it was first became produced was in Lowell, Massachusetts. Then it moved up to Maine. And it's more of like a Maine state beverage. You can find it most easily probably in Maine at like a convenience store or something.
What's the flavor?
To me, it has like a slight root beer-esque, like if you were combining. It's softer than root beer, but it has like this spice element that's really distinct to me.
Yeah, it's bitter. It has like gentian in it. So to me, it tastes like an Amaro and soda.
Yeah.
It's like a good like Yeah, like NA or like a chinotto, if you ever had. That's like one of my favorite things.
Me too.
Yeah, so that's kind of the vibe. So now it's produced in Washington State for some reason. It's owned by Coca-Cola now.
Okay.
But yeah, very like limited distribution.
It's so interesting how regional soda is such an in-group nod. Like I would imagine somebody from Maine who comes to eat at the restaurant and sees that on the menu just must feel so like immediately seen and held.
Yeah, it's really funny to see how so many people embrace that. It's such, it's actually, I feel like controversial though, because some people be like, oh, I hate Moxie. I'm from Maine, and other people like this is the best. So it's polarizing.
I've definitely seen like a lot of older folks be like, wow, I haven't had Moxie in like like 30 years, like
100 years, yeah.
Yeah. And or some people that are younger be like, oh, I had this when I was a kid. It was horrible. And then we'll kind of be like, well, have you had it recently? And they're like, no. And I was like, try it again. Because like as an adult, like I remember having it when I was a kid, and I was like, this is disgusting. It's like not sweet, it's bitter. But as an adult, you're kind of like, your palate's more developed, and you're like, wow, this is great.
Yeah, now that you can drink a Negroni, you can probably handle a Moxie.
Yeah, exactly.
It's better than I can't remember the name of this, but there's like a cult Maine coffee liqueur that I've had before.
Yeah, what is it, the coffee brandy? What's it called again?
I should look it up right now because it's...
Allen's. Yeah. We've
That's
talked
kind of
about
gnarly,
trying to get that. Yeah. For sure.
I like you guys as like the connectors for regional sodas and spirits in that way.
Yeah.
Nick, you were talking a little bit about just the seasonality of seafood. I think that's something that people don't necessarily think about a lot just in our age of getting everything at the supermarket. I'm curious, as we're heading into fall, maybe both on the food and on the drink side, if there are any kind of recent changes to the menu or things that you're eyeing of doing in the future that you're excited about.
Yeah, we're working on a lot of fall stuff right now. You definitely produce, squash, potatoes, sweet potatoes is like things that we're thinking about. Also like fruit, like quince and persimmons we're messing around with. I mean, seafood side, like Maine uni season like started recently. So we're thinking about like sea urchin. What else?
I mean, those are all great things to bring on the menu.
Weirdly, I'm very like strangely excited about this, about possibly serving beef, which we've like not really done. But we found this like producer in New Hampshire that raises like Wagyu cattle. So I'm like, cool, there's like sort of a connection there.
Yeah.
So thinking about it.
Like a hearty meat option for fall, winter.
Yeah.
I have to say, like the restaurant, it feels like you're dining in a ship kind of. It's below ground. It's kind of dark and cozy. I feel like all of the ingredients you're talking about make a lot of sense to kind of eat in that setting as well.
Yeah, this is the time of year where we really shine, I think, in vibes-wise.
Nikita, is there anything that you're working on right now?
Well, I get to change the wine list like every 2 months.
Every 2 months?
Yeah. So the theme right now is still, we came back to Riesling, so Riesling sake. And sake's been really fun. We started more at the end of summer, and now moving into different styles has been great. I think that like with rice fermented beverages, we're still learning so much, especially with like continental cuisine. And just kind of going over, well, there's different rice strains and styles, and you don't need to polish as much. And what happens if you kind of retain those flavor profiles if you don't polish as much has been, I think, really great with the team. And yeah, I think that in terms of our cocktail program, it's been a team effort, but we have kind of gone back to embracing more of a New England thematic tie-in with our love of gin and rum, and seeing how historically those two have been really important for New England and its history. Yeah,
I think it makes a lot of sense in that context. And even on the dessert menu, last time I was in, I had a celery soda, like ice cream float. Is that like something you guys were making in-house and then using in a dessert application?
It's always been a dessert thing rather than a beverage thing.
But are you buying this? Is it celery or is it something you guys are making?
No, we make it. We like juice celery and then like season it and carbonate it.
Yeah, I loved that, but I thought that was kind of a bold menu item because I think celery can be a complicated flavor for people.
Yeah. I was surprised by how like divisive it is. It's definitely divisive.
Do you feel like when you're putting things on the menu, maybe on both sides, you're making something that you think is going to be like a crowd pleaser? Or is it kind of more of this idea of I want to drink Riesling, so I'm putting Riesling on the menu. I want to have celery soda, so I'm putting celery soda on the dessert menu.
It's definitely, I mean, this is something that we like talk about all the time that we feel super strongly about is like, if you do something that you're passionate about, that you love, that you have like reason for doing, then people will be attracted to that. We're just asking people to trust us. It's like, we're not going to feed you something disgusting. Like, that's insane. So it's like, there's good reason to like it. I understand like it. Sure, it may not be to your taste, and that's on you. I guess that's like a you problem. But, it's something that there's a consensus amongst our team that like, this is a thing that we can like get behind. But I think that was, a really important thing to us starting the restaurant that we talk about all the time is it's a place for us and our team. And, we love our guests. We want our guests to be happy. And we have a lot of regulars, a lot of people that have been dining with us since the very beginning and who get it. And a lot of like new diners that are like, have gotten on board with what we do. But at the end of the day, it's like how I look at it in the kitchen is like, we're there, 5 days a week, 12 hours a day. What makes us happy? Like, what do we want to get out of it? And that's like number one most important thing. Mm-hmm. So if we want to make a weird dessert with celery because it makes us happy, then let's do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I think also when we talked about it, like the restaurants that we were talking about had a point of view. And I think also the idea of, it's so funny. It's like how many restaurants in New York have this like concept of showcasing regional American food. I think you kind of have to have a point of view to do that successfully in a way.
Yeah. What were some of the restaurant references that you guys were drawn to?
It's so long ago now.
I know, it's long ago. I can say recently there's been, I kind of love that we do this collaboration series. Mm-hmm. And I think that is always such a good time for us to regroup and be like, oh, we loved what they did here. And like some of our dishes start to shine because there's a conversation that happens. I think for me, this past year, like our meal at Locust was really great. And, they got to come up and do a dinner with us, but dining there in their space and how they kind of, I think in a similar vein, it's like you walk in and they're taking over kind of your experience in the way that they have their music, in the way that they're sitting you at the table, in the way that they're bringing the dishes out. It's, I think, always something that I thought about as well with Smithereens, and hopefully we deliver in a similar way.
Yeah, we definitely took a lot from that experience. They're incredible, the Locust team.
Yeah.
And
where are they based?
Nashville. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think that, the chef there, Trevor, is doing a similar thing. Like, he's from Ireland. There is sort of this like through line of Irish heritage or inspiration, but at the end of the day, they also just like do whatever they want in a really cool, like honest way. It's just like you can tell like how excited they are about like the what they're serving, and it's really cool. Yeah,
and like the best bread service I've had this year. And I love our Anadama bread. So
yeah, the Anadama bread is really good and is like has a folk tale behind it, which I think you guys seem to be drawn to a certain level of, sharing history or talking about where things are coming from, which is always kind of special to see on a menu. Mm-hmm. And Nikita, you mentioned music. How would you describe the like musical point of view at Smithereens?
I mean, it's pretty eclectic.
It is, yeah. But we believe in like, it's been a while since I've worked at a restaurant where you could just put on whatever playlist. Like we like to kind of have a theme, and we talk about just like how the playlist should fit the mood. Nick has some great playlists, and there's like thought behind it, right? And it kind of follows in line with like everything that we do, which is maybe overthought, but like there's a lot of, I like to go over this with the group of like intentionality.
Yeah.
They don't like to hear that word anymore, I think, because I really hammer it home. But I think
what does that mean to you?
It just means that, it's actually, there's two ways of understanding it, right? I think the beauty of walking into a restaurant is sometimes you don't even like notice things, but when you start noticing, you're like, wow, even how that napkin is placed on the table, to how the, food is being presented, to the bathrooms, to like everything. If it has thought, it actually brings there's this sense of ease, and it feels so comfortable in the space. So I think it's like the movement of that is what I'm getting at with intentionality.
Mm-hmm. I think it is so evident when you're in the space. And over the summer, there was a great 3-star New York Times review of Smithereens from Lee Gaia shortly after stepping into one of the roles of restaurant critic. And when I was doing my research about this, I read that it happened when you guys were all on vacation and nobody was at the restaurant. And I'm curious what that experience was like.
Yeah, it was crazy. Let's see. Yeah, we had to close to like fix some our floors in the restaurant. They were messed up.
Yeah. Unrelated to the review.
Yeah. So yeah, we took a little break, and it was. We knew it was coming out, but I was in Denmark, and I was like on a hike, and in like the middle on like this island, and then the review was out, and people were like, I didn't really have like great service, but I would like get like sporadic texts sometimes, and then my girlfriend and I were on like the side of this cliff, like trying to like load the page.
Holding your phone up to the sky.
Yeah, exactly. So that was cool. Definitely. Yeah, it did like coming back and then like reopening the restaurant. It did feel like a little like anticlimactic in a way, because the review had been out for like a week at that point.
Yeah. Was that you weren't on a remote island, Nikita, I take it?
I wasn't. I was on my way to London. I was still in New York, but I was, and I think I kind of enjoyed it in a weird way, because it kind of gave us this space to really think about what that review meant and like soak in those words, so that when we opened, we were like, okay, I don't know if we were prepared or anything changed, but I appreciate that moment of reflection. And, we talked through with the group when we got back just briefly and celebrated. And I really liked what you said, Nick. You were at Noma, and, Renee Redzepi told you to like embrace the moment or something like that. I was like, yeah, I guess that's kind of organically what we did in a way.
Yeah. He was like, oh, we don't take like, as like chefs, like we don't take the time to like celebrate these sort of like victories in a way. We're just sort of like, okay, cool. Like let's, go back to work and like keep working. And yeah, I think that he's like, you got to really soak it in. I think it was kind of ideal in a way to be closed, because it was funny to like go, it would be weird to like have it come out and then go into service and like right after. And it gave us time to sort of like reset. And also, I don't think we were prepared for how busy we got after that. So it was like, we knew like going into it, like the couple of days like before reopening, we were like, okay, we have to like prepare for war, because it was like a lot of, not only like the amount of people that you're serving, but just like higher expectations and all that stuff is like a lot to sort of like come to terms with.
Yeah, I was curious about what it felt like when you did reopen, because 3 stars is a great review. It's not a very like common rating that people get, and especially knowing that it wasn't like people could show up that day. Like, were you just completely slammed? Like, what did it feel like when you did reopen?
Yeah,
right.
I mean,
think so.
it was busy, and I think it was interesting because we were like, there's something about the space that I want to protect.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, it's okay to be, happy to be busy. Oh my God, of course. But it's also like, when is too much? And like, how do we preserve what has been magical for guests? And that's been a debate that we've still been like talking through, because it's like we're just going into busy restaurant season as is now. But definitely like coming back, it was something, we've done certain things. We've maybe added a couple more front of house, shifts, and just to like ensure that we're preserving that moment for people. Because like I wrote, so like I think what I took away from that review is like it's great to see someone write like everything you've poured this like year of your life into a place, and it's nice regardless like how many stars, just to read the words is great.
Yeah, she's like the most beautiful writer. She's great.
She's an incredible writer, and I think the stars is an easy thing to fixate on, but what I was mostly struck by was this kind of like way that she seemed to be seeing and identifying with the restaurant. She writes something along the lines of like, this might not be the restaurant for you, but it's the restaurant for me. And I think what you guys are saying about wanting to make a place that is really core to what you're inspired by and want to be doing, like that seems to really resonate.
Yeah, I think as like, food media, food people, or like we need to encourage like individuality and like people taking risks and thinking outside the box. I don't know. Not that like, I don't know. Maybe that wasn't well stated. But
no, that's beautiful.
yeah.
That's the point of it.
It's funny. Like you guys had a Lagaya on this podcast, and she was talking about this celery dessert.
Yeah.
And she didn't explicitly say like what restaurant she was talking about, but she was like, oh, this like, I can't remember what she said, but it was like, I kind of loved it, but also I didn't like the flavor of it. And we were like, oh my God, she's definitely talking about us. Like, this is scary.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny.
That's how it goes. On this idea of kind of individuality in restaurants, I feel like the East Village is kind of having a new wave. I mean, the East Village has been a great restaurant neighborhood for a while, but it seems like there's lots of new openings and things going on. And I'm curious if you guys think of Smithereens as part of like a neighborhood community of restaurants, or just kind of how you think about the neighborhood that you guys are operating in.
Yeah, I mean, it's like the best neighborhood. I love it.
You're right by Claude still.
Yeah. Claude and Penny, like those guys are there, and they're working on a new project too, which will be really cool.
Stars?
Yeah, Stars, yeah. I mean, Fox Face, Superiority Burger, like we love those places.
Yeah, Superiority Burger is another great example of like Brooks doing whatever he wants on the restaurant menu.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what else is happening? Foul Witch.
Yeah. I love Nikita because they like Riesling as well.
Yeah.
Your people.
Yeah.
Kabawa is also
Yeah,
great.
Kabawa, yeah. No, there's definitely a lot happening. I wonder if we'll still see more, like, openings. I don't know.
Yeah. What is your relationship like with the Claude, Penny, Stars folks? It seems like they hang out around the restaurant too.
Yeah, I mean, we like their staff comes in to eat a lot, and and I think our staff goes there a good amount too. And yeah, I mean, Chase and Josh that run the restaurants, they're like two of my closest friends. So to be able to like work with those guys on that opening was like so like educational, and like definitely made opening Smithereens like possible to sort of do that. So yeah, we're super tight with them, and
It's nice to see.
Yeah.
All the different restaurant families that are happening around.
Yeah, totally.
I want to play a rapid fire game with you guys to close today. I'm going to make you play some favorites if you're ready.
Okay, I did prepare for this.
Okay.
And yeah, I like have it's like
I think when you're
answers
put
written
on
in my
the
phone.
spot, sometimes it's hard to be, it's like, what do I like?
I know.
You know?
Yeah.
But it's going to be great. Okay, maybe we can, since you have your answers ready, Nick, you can answer first and then Nikita can go second.
That'll give you time to think about it.
Yeah.
Okay, good. All right, let's do that.
Okay, your favorite cookbook?
Essential Cuisine by Michel Bras, the great French chef. Big fan of his work.
That's great. Oh, should I do cookbook or should I do a wine
You can do
book?
a wine book.
You can do either if you want.
I'm going to do wine. I'm going to say, I think New French Wine by John Bonnet is becoming an essential book for people. Cookbook, I'd say Mother Joffrey, like Indian cuisine queen.
Your favorite fall produce item?
I mentioned it before, but quince or persimmon.
What kind of persimmon?
I guess if I had to pick one, I prefer hachiyas, but
Yeah.
they're just so good. Yeah. I just like looking at those fruits.
Yeah,
They're like beautiful.
they are. They're
Yeah.
little jewels.
Yeah. Or like smelling quince, which is like something about, like you can't like capture that because once you cook it, it's like transforms into something else, which is like cool, but also sad because it's not the same thing.
Yeah, and you can't really eat it raw.
Right. Yeah.
Good answer.
Yeah.
What about you, Nikita?
I'm just thinking of like when we first opened around this time.
What we had. Yeah.
I love beets.
Wow. Okay.
Remember that the cocktail with the beet juice?
Yeah,
and
yeah.
then beets were also in the menu.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
I like the sound of a beet juice cocktail. Do you
Yeah.
remember what kind of liquor was in it?
Yeah, it was rye.
It was a
Ooh.
Ward 8 classic New England cocktail.
You guys, I'm learning so much about New England right now. It's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, your favorite quick lunch spot in New York?
Sobuya, also on 9th Street in the East Village.
That's good. S&P.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah.
That's
great.
mine. What do you get there?
Oh, I mean, what do you get?
Tuna melt.
I was, yeah, me too, on rye.
Yeah.
I did go to B&H this weekend, actually, though, and that was great.
What did you get?
Split pea soup.
Yeah, that's
Well, I've never had that there.
It's so good.
It's really good.
Well, you have to add salt, but like it's great. And
I like love I think B&H is like the New York institution
it's
for
so
me.
good. The challah is incredible.
The challah is incredible. The people who work there are incredible.
Yeah.
I went there after going to a movie. We've just derailed the speed round, but I went there after seeing a movie at Angelica Village
Yeah.
East, which used to be a like Jewish theater back in the day. And then I went to B&H and I realized that like 100 years ago, somebody could have done exactly
That's
what I
cool.
did and
Yeah.
walked from like that theater to B&H to have like soup.
Right. That's super cool.
History. Gotta
Yeah.
love it. Okay, your favorite occasion restaurant in New York?
The grill. I love it there.
well, that's great. Oh, yeah. Oh, okay. I'm gonna go with another one in that group, but Teresi.
We went to Teresi to celebrate our review with the team.
Oh, it's perfect.
It was fun.
Yeah.
Okay, your favorite bar in New York?
This is really hard.
This is so hard.
Yeah, I was like, I decided that like I would keep it like East Village centric and tile bar or a big bar.
Oh yeah, that's mine too.
Yeah, big bar, right?
Big bar.
Yeah.
It's great. It's cash only.
That's good.
Yeah, it's small, cash only. Red glow.
Okay, I'm gonna keep making it hard. Your favorite bakery in New York?
I would say, just because I go there most often, probably C&B on 7th Street. The breakfast sandwiches are great. They have really good focaccia.
What about you, Nikita?
I go here a lot. So Friendship Bakery. Yeah.
Is that it's what's in the old arcade bakery space?
It's in
coolest
the
space.
it's like that you walk it's in the
The
lobby.
office building?
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's great.
I love that space. I was really sad when arcade closed and happy that like another bakery is moving in there.
Yeah.
Okay, what you would consider to be an underrated item of seafood?
That's tough.
I mean, I'd say bluefish.
But yeah, that's true. Yeah. Yeah, bluefish definitely is. I'd say, I don't know if it's underrated enough, but like mackerel. Some people don't like it, but I feel like at the restaurant, like in the kitchen, it's like everyone's like favorite thing. Not just the one that we serve now, but we've served like different iterations or like different types of mackerel. We love mackerel. Yeah.
I love that. Okay, final question. A fictional food scene, like from a book or a movie or something made up that you wish you could somehow eat in real life.
I would say the opening scene of the movie Eat, Drink, Man, Woman by Ang Lee. It's just this like Chinese like feast.
It's incredible. So
amazing. But this is a tough question to answer, but that would be my pick.
It's a great answer. What about you, Nikita?
Oh, it's so great. But I wrote about this on I think volume 2 of our zine.
He's taking your idea then?
Wait,
no, not your movie. I wrote about
in
science,
the sci-fi?
Yeah, science fiction, I think, is like, and that's hard that I have to pinpoint because like I would probably go with Dune, Frank Herbert, because I really want to try like wine from Caledon.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. That is the coolest answer. I ask all my guests this question because I'm just looking for things to read and watch, honestly. But no one has ever said like interstellar wine before.
Right, yeah. Or like Star Trek, I'd like to try like Captain Picard's family's wine.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But it's from Bordeaux, so I feel like I could like...
You have an idea.
I have
of
an
what
idea
that's
of
like.
it, yeah.
I mean, you could, if you're in Star Trek, you could just use the replicator and you could taste any wine ever.
Right, but...
Can he do that? I actually don't.
I feel like that's what makes wine magical is that you can't.
You can't.
You can't
The replicator
do it.
can't.
The replicator could
do
not.
it.
Yeah.
Why not?
Because wine is like more than just the parts of grapes and things. There's like history and you have to age it a certain way and it continues to grow. So I don't think a replicator could do that.
Yeah, I probably couldn't handle it.
Okay, the next time you guys come back, we'll do like a sci-fi wine-specific podcast.
I'm so down.
Thank you guys both so much for coming on the show. This has been so fun.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This is Taste is hosted and produced by Matt Rodbard and me, Eliza Abarbanel. The show is edited by lead producer Clayton Gumbert and supervised by Pat Stango, Director of Media Production and Development at Penguin Random House. Thanks to Shalia Harris and the production team at Penguin Random House. Theme music by Steve Rydell, logo and guest illustrations by Ellie Skurzat. Visit Taste online at tastecooking.com and make sure to subscribe to our newsletter to keep updated on all cool things in the world of taste.